Hi, Gothletts, and welcome to the second episode of Trust Me, I'm a Goth. I have Hat again with me today. Hello, Hat.
Hello, Hat.
And we will be going through some of the things I have found on Reddit. We shall begin. So, we have our first one, and it's best way to get good at gaming quick. Are we ready to get into this?
Impossible, but yeah.
I don't know. I have moved away from my hometown, and it's becoming harder and harder to keep in touch with those friends. One way I think I can help with that is to play video games with them. That way we can still talk and joke around. I've never played war/shooting games, and they choose to play Call of Duty, oh my god, as that is the common game amongst them all. What's the best way to not completely suck to a level where I can at least keep up with those we've been playing for years and have naturally built up very good skills?
Well, there's no way to gain that time and experience back, but she can just ask the friends to teach them how to play.
Yeah, use it as a, that
Excuse.
friend building thing.
Yeah, use it as an excuse. Not an excuse per se, but use it as a means to engage with each other.
Yeah, and I know
Being prepared to get ragged to shit.
You noob. Right. I know from I don't play Call of Duty because I suck at it. But my crotch goblins do. And there's these things called aimbots.
Just don't get caught using them.
Yeah. So there's a way to go. That's possible. I don't think there's much else to add. Use it to get together as an excuse to play.
Play with them.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure if you explain to your friends your shit, they're not going to be too harsh on you.
Your friends will know you've not played it, and if you're getting into it, they'll want to help you out and play with you.
Yeah.
So yeah.
There we go. Use it to build that friendship. Right. The next one. Parents living with me. How do I cope? Okay.
Probably the same way you did for the first 16, 17 years of your life.
Well, let's see what they've got to say, because I think it's a bit of a reverse if the parents are living with them. Right. To give some background, because that always helps. Parents live in a different country than where I live. I live in South America. They live in the Caribbean. All right, don't rag me for that. That's just how it came out my mouth.
Caribbean.
Yeah. Not the Caribbean, the Caribbean.
That is where you promised to answer. Yeah.
Okay, so I am 28 and male. Our relationship is all right. During my adolescence, when I lived with them, it wasn't the best. I left home when I was 18 and just found my way through life. Sometimes that's the best way to go. My mum came to stay with me for a while to get some medical treatments and attention for pain. Yeah, that sucks. Since those treatments are covered by my insurance and she just has to pay a small fee. That's nice of you. You didn't have to do that. Firstly, I work from home and I like living by myself. It's always been my dream, and that's all I really ever wanted. My mum has been suffering from constant pain for a while and couldn't get the appropriate treatment where she lives in the Caribbean. So we, as a family, agreed she should come and seek help in our native country. Initially, she said she would stay for a few months. Then a few months turned into a few more months, and now it's been a year since she has been staying with me. Now, my dad has also decided to come and seek some medical help for a few underlying issues he has with his health. He has now been here for just over a month. So, what is the issue? Yeah? They are changing and accommodating themselves around my apartment. Oh. Changes in the kitchen, rooms, living room, dining room. They watch TV, etc. Dad has some hearing loss as he is close to 70. So he put the TV a bit loud, but I just closed the door to my office and I'm able to work. Well, that's good. They pay for food and I pay rent and other bills. I don't really mind that they accommodate themselves. It's nothing too crazy. Once they leave, I can change everything back, and I told them that. My dad should leave within the next month since he is to get back to his job. I don't know how much longer my mum plans to stay, but she said maybe another 3 months. I need advice on how to cope with them living here for the next few months, where it doesn't irritate me or frustrate me. I want to help and I'm glad to help them, but I also need some advice on how to let them know that I like living by myself without indicating that I am kicking them out, since that's not the case. Any advice or suggestions? Well, obviously it sounds like they kind of did that forced invitation of we need to do this, and you felt obliged because they are your parents. You know.
Yeah, it's a hard situation to be in.
There's a care home.
I didn't know that stage yet. But one way to do it might be to broach the subject of when they have to come over again for more medical treatment, is possibly looking at somewhere for them to stay. That can be for them, which might obviously gives you back your freedom and independence and living alone that you enjoy, which nothing wrong with that at all. But also doesn't sound like you're kicking them out, which is say I do need my space again.
Yeah, it's a hard one. And I'm guessing because you've not had that best relationship in your adolescence with them, you can't be straight to the point, because I would, but that's me. I would be straight to the point saying, look, Dad, you've told me you're going to be here another month. I'm only planning to have you here for that month. Mum, you've told me you're going to be here for 3 more months. I'm only planning to have you for those 3 more months. I enjoy my own space. You know, I'm grateful for you bringing me up, but now's my time.
I mean, if he's paying the rent, does it breach any of his rental agreement having him actually living with him as well?
Yes.
If that is the case, he can point that out to them, because there's staying with somebody on holiday or medical treatment, which is short term.
But yeah, years.
A year is technically living there.
Yeah, it is. Maybe have a look at that, and that might be a way of you not being the bad guy in this. It is literally in your rental agreement. I mean, it might not be, and you know, they're fine. But that's definitely one to check, because that ultimately could leave you homeless. It's a good thing Hat brought that up, because similar situation with 2 of my children. One of my children's moved out, got their own place with their partner, and it's their younger sibling, because they've got a spare room, wanted to go live there, and they had to check with their landlord that, you know, that was fine to do, even though they had the space, and you know, there wasn't going to be much more of an issue. Luckily, they're able to do that. But yeah, that's something you'll have to check out, because not every rental agreement allows that.
It's just for that one person, not that person plus whoever else they want to come live there, without them being added onto the agreement.
And you don't want to add them onto the agreement, because that gives them free rein to come whenever they want. I'm guessing you did bring up, obviously, you could close the door about your dad with his hearing loss. Now you have said it's in your apartment. Again, not being the bad guy, just say, I don't know if you could get away with telling, white lies and saying, the neighbours have said about it being a bit loud. Because what I classify as loud would be fine for my neighbours. They wouldn't hear it because I do like things quiet. But obviously, if you like things quiet and your dad has in the TV a bit louder, your perception of loud might be different to someone else's.
If it is interfering with your work, I'll just tell them it's interfering with my work. My work is suffering as well because of it. So we need to come to an agreement that's going to be best for all of us, and means
I think you are going to have to, you're old enough, sit down and have the conversation with them and say, I'm not planning on kicking you out, but I enjoy my own space and I'm feeling claustrophobic, and I'm quite happy for you to stay another month, Dad, you to stay another 3 months as you said, Mum, but maybe we should look at alternative arrangements and help them with that alternative arrangement.
Coming back from medical care, long term, would it just be worth them actually looking at emigrating
back
to that place to where you live as well? Then that way they don't need to keep going backwards and forwards between countries for medical care. They can just stay there and be there full time.
Yeah, well, there we go. I'll give you some ideas. I'm not in that position, and I'm lucky. I get on with my dad, and my dad's quite a solitary creature anyway. So if he ever did have to come and live with me, I know he'd keep himself to himself, and I'd just let him get on with it. But again, it's that family dynamic that you've got there. Right, let's move on to the next one. Am I the arsehole for having my pregnant neighbour's car towed?
Depends.
You've already,
did you get on well in the first place? If not, then no, not at all.
Okay. I, 20 male, have lived where I lived for 1.5 years now. Recently, my neighbour moved out and someone else moved out. I drive a big truck, so it's difficult to pull out because of how the driveway is positioned. Yeah, I've seen some drives where if you've got a big vehicle, they don't leave much room. My new neighbour recently started parking her car even, where I back out to get out of my apartment, which is my driveway. I asked her before to move her vehicle, but got nowhere. Yesterday, I had it. I was pulling out, and as I was nearing her car, she laid on the horn for at least 2 minutes. Lovely. She got out and started screaming, "If you hit my car, I'll sue you for every dollar you make," along with some insults. I had it. I called a tow truck, and they impounded her vehicle today because it was on my property. She has since then been slamming on my door trying to get a rise out of me. That's okay, because I have a car. I'm like the arsehole. I'm going to say no.
Slightest.
No, you're not.
Parking on his property in the first place.
And you
don't. The story.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if she's pregnant or not. If she's come to you and said, "Look, parking here is going to help me. Am I able to?" and you've agreed to it, and then you decide to tow it, then you are the arsehole. But if she is on your property, you have her towed. It is impacting your life. And if
it's trespassing as well.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I'm guessing you're possibly in America, because a lot of I don't know if you can do it in the UK, but in America, if she continues this behaviour, keep a log of it and get her done for trespassing. Trespass her. Tell her you no longer want her on the property, and if she comes onto your property, you will get her for trespass. And then just call the police. Obviously, unless you feel you're in immediate danger, call non-emergency, and I know there are non-emergency numbers in America. I've been watching a lot of crime movies. Call the non-emergency and have it logged, because I feel, especially being hormonal, things are going to get worse. But no one should get away with doing something they shouldn't do.
No reason whatsoever.
There's no. I mean, I even say people who have mental health issues, yes, leniency, but they shouldn't get away with it, because ultimately, if they know right from wrong, they know right from wrong, whether they're in control or not.
No, not the arsehole. Job well done, to be honest.
There we go. And Hat's had to put up with a pregnant woman. So
Couple times over.
I'm not that bad. No. Alright. The next one. AITAH. So I'm guessing it's just an extended Am I the Arsehole? For demanding an 11-year-old apologise from stealing from me.
No.
I haven't even read it, and it's no. God no. I'd get a 3-year-old to apologise. They know they
stole
shouldn't
from
take
you. They
things.
shouldn't have stole in the first place. So make them apologise. End of story.
Right, I've just skimmed over this. Let's get into this, because this is going to get interesting.
Okay.
My husband and I, in brackets, gay couple, make no difference unless it comes into play. Yep, have a memorial shrine in our home. The urns and photos of both of our fathers and dog are displayed. We have one with all my doggies and keepsakes from my grandparents. I kept a large paw-shaped locket wrapped around my dog's urn. It was filled with a bit of his fur. Oh, that's sweet. I've got my ring with the ashes in I keep on me. My brother, his wife and 2 kids came over for burgers and hot dogs. Cool. Soon after, I found the locket to be missing. We searched everywhere. It was gone. A few days later, my brother calls at 9 p.m. and I mentioned that the locket was missing. He casually mentions that he knows his 11-year-old had borrowed it. I demanded it back, that he gets off his butt and return it immediately. He said no, he's tired. I'm angry, go to his house and bang on the door until he opens it and tossed the locket at me. It had been opened and my boy's fur was missing from it. Oh, and that kid's not dead. I'd have flattened it. Right. Anyway, I'm not a violent person, honestly. I go home and get a call. Apparently a neighbour saw me yelling at him and called the cops. So my brother is mad at me, yet still wants to get together for another barbecue. I told him that he and his daughter will need to apologise. Oh, so it was his daughter. Will need to apologise to me and my husband. My brother refused, saying she's too young to understand that stealing is wrong and it would just traumatise and embarrass her. Oh, I've got something to say on that.
Yeah, 11 is definitely not too young at all.
You can get done for it from the age of 8 in the UK. 8 is like the age of understanding what's right and wrong. My husband is super non-confrontational and says I'm being an arsehole for demanding an apology from a kid and it won't change anything. Yes, it will. The fur is gone and nothing will bring it back. My brother thinks I'm the arsehole and the 11-year-olds don't understand that theft is wrong. I believe an apology is 100% needed as they stole and damaged something precious to me. So that's where we are. I feel shitty about this and don't know why. Yeah, I feel that I deserve a sincere apology. So Redditors, who sucks here? The 11-year-old and your brother?
Yeah, because the brother should have given you a bell as soon as he found out and also made her apologise.
Yeah.
And then.
Now, I have several kids. It's not a secret. Called my lovely crotch goblins, and one of my crotch goblins got in with a bad friend when he was about 5 or 6, and he went to a shop, and I see this as a lesser degree to what your situation is. My son stole something and I caught him with it as we came out the shop. I marched him, and I say he was 5 or 6, back into that shop because he had been brought up. You do not take things that do not belong to you without asking. And in a shop, you purchase them. I bought the item because the shop wasn't aware he'd taken it. I made him apologise to the shop owner and ask if they had a consequence for him. Bearing in mind, my child is now blubbering in tears. I didn't shout at this point. I tend not to shout. I just speak firmly. My son apologised, and then we walked out of the shop. He didn't do it again. 11-year-old, they are very capable of knowing right from wrong and apologising. And the fact they felt the need to open it and lose the fare, which is irreplaceable, that yes, you deserve a damn right apology. That's uncalled for. How would they like it if you went and took your niece's favourite toy, then ripped its head off? If it had a head, you know what I mean.
Lost part of it.
Yeah, lost part of it and said, I just fancied taking it, and didn't apologise. She's old enough to apologise. And your husband, I don't know if you've had kids or he's got kids in his family. Yes, it won't change a thing, but it will teach that 11-year-old that taking something without asking that does not belong to you is wrong. And they need to feel that guilt and that remorse for doing it. And if they don't learn, they're going to continue to do it over and over again. And granted, I'm guessing a slight exception to be is if the child is neurodivergent or has, learning difficulties, and they might not understand the concept. And then obviously there's other ways around it, but you haven't mentioned any of that. So I'm presuming this child
is a normal functioning
11-year-old.
Yeah.
And having a 12-year-old little dragon ourselves, she definitely knows right from wrong, and if she took something, she'd be in it. She would be in trouble. So no, you are not the arsehole, and it sucks because it's your niece. You wouldn't expect something like that, and you probably would have expected your husband to stand up with you, even non-confrontational. But ultimately, you can get her done for theft and criminal damage because she has lost that part of it. I'm not saying you should, but the law is there that you can do it. I know what you'd do to the child, but
I'd go to old school, do what they used to do in the olden days, chop off a finger.
There we go. We don't pay any attention
They can't steal things if they lose all the fingers.
Aren't you just a charming ray of sunshine? Right. Next one. AITA for refusing to answer my in-laws when they call me Florence. Okay.
If it's your name, then no.
Okay. My legal name is Flora. No, you're not. Not Florence.
Florence Nightingale, maybe. Possibly.
No, Flora and Florence, different.
Flora and Fauna.
It reminds me of my dad's name's John, and everyone, given time he grew up in, used to call him Jonathan, thinking he was called John for short. He wasn't. His name is John. So I digress. Let's get back to this. My parents chose to use just Flora when I was born, and I always liked my name a lot. But for most of my life, I have been Florrie. Fair enough to most people. Even at work, my co-workers call me Florrie. I will answer to either Flora or Florrie. And some people prefer to call me Flora, which I'm totally fine with. but ever since I first met my in-laws 2 years ago, they have been so weird about my name. They started out by asking me 100 times if my name was actually Florence. Then they asked me why my parents chose to give me a nickname, in brackets here, Flora, as a legal name instead of the full name Florence, and call me Flora instead. What really bothers me is the fact I use Florrie. What really bothers them is the fact I use Florrie and somewhat prefer it over Flora. That's entirely up to you.
Yeah.
They told me they cannot understand a professional woman using such a juvenile sounding name. Oh my God. They said every time they hear the name, they expect a 6-year-old and not a 28-year-old woman. My husband has been wonderful about shutting them down and telling them to stop calling them out on being disrespectful. We have distanced ourselves from his parents due to this. But now, whenever we see them at family functions, they call me Florence. I'm getting angry for you, and it's not even me. First time I really hope they were talking to someone else. Oh yeah, first time I really hope they were talking to someone else. Sorry, my eyes are going a bit blurry as I'm trying to read. But no, it was me. My husband told me to ignore them if I wanted, and so I did. Good for you. My husband's siblings all think their parents are being ridiculous, and all of them call me Florrie in an effort to piss their parents off. Good on you. Some used to call me Flora and Florrie, but even Flora doesn't exist to them now. We were all together for New Year's party, and my husband's parents brought some friends. They and their friends all called me childish, among other things, for refusing to answer to Florence. My husband got so annoyed he went over to tell them they were being ridiculous when Florence isn't even my name. They told him Florence could be seen as just another nickname and I am being unreasonable and rude. I felt very called out, but honestly, the anger and the way they talked about me made me question if I'm being a tad unreasonable and if I shouldn't just let them call me Florence. AITA. No, you're not.
You're the one who gets to choose what name you are called by. Especially if it's a name that you don't. If you don't like the name, you definitely don't have to. But no, you're not being razzled in the slightest. Your name is Flora or Florrie to your friends and close ones.
A good example of this is I know a child and their name is Georgina, and growing up that was it, Georgina. They did end up having a nickname, Gigi, but ultimately their name was Georgina, and a teacher tried to call them George, and they turned around to the teacher and said, "My name's Georgina, not George." A family member tried to call them George, and she turned around and said, "My name's Georgina, not George," and then would refuse to answer anyone unless they called her Georgina or Gigi. So, I totally get that. Florence isn't your name.
No.
You've not approved them using Florence as a nickname. If you'd approved them using it, then you might be a bit unreasonable to not then respond to them, but you've not approved it at all. One of my children's names is unusual, and another grandparent who they don't have contact with decided to, instead of call them by their name, call them Matthew. And Matthew isn't even close to their name or whatsoever. And yes, I went a bit mad at them, all because they said his name is unusual he'd get bullied for it, and this is more acceptable. Now, my son does have a nickname. Well, he has several, including Mr. Moo. But Mr. Moo is reserved for in the house, outside. He has his full name, and he did have one grandparent who gave him a nickname just because she was struggling with how difficult it was. And that nickname has still stuck. But again, he doesn't mind the nickname now he's got older, but he prefers his name. And I will respect that. He doesn't get bullied for his name. There is so many unusual names out there nowadays. You can't say what's childish and what's not.
No.
But no, you're not the arsehole. Good for you for sticking up. And if someone called me... Actually, I did have this. Growing up, I'm a twin. I'm a non-identical twin. We don't even look related non-identical twins. Yeah, I always used to get called my sister's name. She never used to get called my name. I always used to get called hers. And I wouldn't answer whatsoever. Oh, there goes, I don't know if you can hear it. Some emergency service vehicle. I do have younger siblings, twin siblings, and they are identical. And they would refuse to answer if they got called each other's names. So you are definitely not the arsehole. And there's some examples of, why you're not and why it's acceptable for you to not answer.
Mm-hmm.
I get called all sorts now. I'm just happy someone's talking to me.
She could just have revenge and start calling them different names.
See if there's alternatives to their names. Like Dickhead and Swank or whatever. And if they accept those new nicknames, which you can be outlandish, then you'll accept Florence. Until then, you're not overreacting. Just keep ignoring them unless they call you Florrie or Flora. There we go. So I had a bit of a rant on that one.
You did.
Right, next one. AITA for telling my girlfriend that my mum chose the dog over me.
No, your mum was the AITA for choosing the dog over you in the first place.
Well, let's see the circumstances. He might have been a 28-year-old male living at home scrounging, and she decided she'd rather keep the dog than him. That would be acceptable. Right, but let's get into it. So back when and in brackets, it's an 18-year-old male currently. So back when I was 8, my parents got a divorce. My mum and dad reached an agreement. She got the Labrador Retriever and Dad got me. Oh my God, got me. I haven't seen her for nearly 10 years until she contacted me 2 months ago. She said she really missed me, but was too ashamed of herself for the agreement to reach out. Yeah, bollocks, right? We reconnected and I even introduced my girlfriend, who's 18, to her. I made a mistake though. They got along well at first and exchanged numbers. But then girlfriend asked why I seemed tense around my mum. I told her it's because I haven't seen her in almost 10 years. She asked why, and I told her about the custody agreement. Oh my God.
Oh, no point hiding it.
It's the history.
Yeah.
You're going to find out about each other anyway. My girlfriend then called my mum. She called in to mum's description, screamed for 5 minutes and called her piece of shit.
It probably wasn't the worst thing she was called at that time by a few people.
Then my mum told me I shouldn't have told my girlfriend that, and that I should have known it would lead to a great deal of embarrassment for your mum. All right. You're not the arsehole. Let's get that out. You and your girlfriend, if you progress in your relationship, she was bound to find this out. I'm pretty sure your friends from the time knew this as well.
Or if she ever spoke to your dad.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, it's one hell of a story, isn't it? It's like Indiana Jones. Yeah, we named you after the dog. But yeah, there is a such thing as joint custody for both children and animals in a divorce proceeding. I know from experience. Um, so she could have had joint custody. She's had 10 years to get in touch and reach out to you, unless there was some really bad like legal thing where she couldn't have contact with you till you was an adult. But it's not saying it here. It's literally saying she chose the fucking dog over you. Now granted, one of my crotch goblins was a nightmare at 8 and I probably would have chosen the dog over them, but then probably regretted it about a week later when the dog's acting like a 3-year-old. But no, she could have reached out to you sooner. And then that embarrassment would have gone. Granted,
That still wouldn't change the fact that she chose the dog over him.
yeah, I would have fought for joint custody.
She's got to be prepared that anyone that knows you is potentially going to know that she gave him up for a dog.
Yeah. I will ask. It might be. Did she contact you 2 months ago because the dog passed away? So she was lonely. Because, you know, depending on how old the dog was at the agreement, that'd be the right age. I would be. Oh.
Yeah.
You're looking at me like it's disgust for me thinking that.
I'm bored and lonely. Let's go see what my son's up to after I dropped him off 10 years ago for the dog.
Yeah.
Swapsies, your turn to have the dog's ashes. I gave the son back.
There we go. I don't want the dog no more. Joking aside, no, you're not the arsehole. She's bound to have known this day was coming. Everything comes back to bite you in the ass apart from the dog.
She should know it's been 10 years. Practically anyone in your life is going to know that potentially that you've told them at some point that your mum gave him up for a dog. Because
maybe she was a crack addict and didn't know what she was doing.
Well, maybe, but either way, when you're 8, you're going to be so pissed off you'll be telling all your mates that your mum chose the dog over you.
I would
and
be.
calling all the names under the sun that you could do at that age when you weren't in earshot of adults.
Yeah.
Unless your dad didn't mind you slagging your mum off in front of him.
Well, I'm guessing your dad was more of a parent to you than your mum. Because I know I would put up a fight to have both. And joint custody in part-time is better than none.
Yeah.
Oh, bless your heart is tired. I do like to do this sat in bed. Right. Let's get on to the last one. I think it's the last one. Yeah. AITA for disagreeing with my wife over nudist sons. And there's a throwaway to this, and the weirdest thing, it's just weird. Right, okay. So, male, 39. Ooh, so around the same age, we can relate. Yeah, I'm old. We have 2 boys, 16 and 14. Oh, I have 2 slightly older. They are good kids who never give us any trouble, in brackets mostly. They basically live in our basement. Their choice. They are not relegated there. That's fine.
No Harry Potter's there.
Yeah. I've got a cupboard in a cupboard under the stairs. And obviously Harry Potter and all of that. And I do have a child that wants to live under the stairs because there is enough room to put a work desk, a bed. It's very cramped, but there is the room there. And I'm like, no, you got a bedroom. Right. Let's carry on. So, yeah, we understand that with kids. It's no dungeon. Brackets, certainly no kind of punishment. Right, yeah, okay, we're getting it's not punishment. The kids. And I've got a child that'd probably live in a cage if they could.
His bedrooms used to be in the basement when we lived in Germany.
There we go. It's finished almost as nice as the rest of the house. Almost like an apartment. Well, that's probably why they want the basement. They've got their own space.
I think they might have guessed it out themselves.
Yeah, huge bedroom, game room and system, a big TV, bathroom, tiny kitchenette, a couple of pieces of gym equipment. It's teen heaven, really, and they love it. I should have it. So lucky at that age. Yeah, they've got it good. Yeah. No wonder they want to be in the basement. For 10 days over the holidays, the boys went to my brother's family a few hours away to visit their cousin and for some kind of holiday sports camp. All 3 boys are athletes. Fair enough, so that's where the gym bit comes in. Well, I'll blame this on my brother's free spirit wife, but they are naturists. As of the last couple of years, i.e. nudists. Nothing wrong with that, but we will continue. We warned the boys about it, but they said they wouldn't care and wanted to go to the sports thing. Fair enough. They're old enough, and I'm guessing mature enough, if you've allowed them to go and make that choice. Since they've been back, unfortunately, our guys have embraced this naturism. They were always shirt off or just basketball short boys, but now it's all George Constanza's would say a nudorama 24/7 down in the man cave. Okay, if it stays in the cave.
As long as it stays in the cave, yeah. It's effectively their bedroom.
It's something I just shake my head over and my wife just rolled her eyes about. But I also don't want them wandering the house in their birthday suits. So I made a deal with them. Do as you like but downstairs. Okay. So
Wording there's a bit dodgy, mate.
But that's what they do. They even have 1 or 2 or 3 friends over, sometimes playing video games or football or just hanging out or whatever. Just as God made them. Gotta hand it to them. They sure seem self-confident, nonchalant, unruffled.
Well, if they're confident, what can you say? Nothing wrong with that.
Wife has changed her mind though. The laundry is downstairs and I guess she's tired of going down and getting an eyeful. She told me to put a stop to it. I refused. I told her I'm sure it's just a phase and they'll get over it. Probably pretty soon. And they've adhered to the rules I set. They don't come upstairs naked anymore. Always at least shorts. So I don't want to go back. I thought I heard my door. On my word. She called me an arsehole, although not in those words, and stormed away. Right. You're not an arsehole. Maybe if your wife can, have another rule in place where she has a set time to go down so the boys know to be appropriately dressed, or even, as I always have done from my children having their own room, knock on the door and ask if they're decent to enter.
Oh, depending where the washroom is it possible just to close off so you can't see the rest of downstairs from the washroom?
And to be honest, given the age, it might not be a phase. You might have to get used to them. Just embrace being themselves, and being confident is absolutely fantastic.
She needs to remember on all that washing she's saving, not having to do
yes.
Going on.
So she doesn't actually need to go down as much because they're not wearing as much clothes.
Yeah. Mind of all the money they're saving on wear and tear of the clothes, wash powder.
Yeah.
Laundry
electric,
water.
Yeah. You give
if they're cold, then they should actually put some clothes on rather than turn the heating.
She wouldn't have anything to see if they were cold.
True.
There we go. Turn the heating down. But no, you're not the arsehole. I can understand wife's perspective. I'm lucky my children feel confident enough to walk around in their birthday suits, but they walk around in their birthday suits in the privacy of their own room. And it's another reason why, my crotch croppings have grown up with you knock before you enter a room. Even if there might not be anybody in there, we still knock before we enter a room.
It's just polite manners.
Yeah, but there's ways around it. And
Yeah, she can shout from the. Well, if you've got to go downstairs to get into the basement, then she just needs to shout, "Boys, I'm going downstairs to do laundry. Can you put some boxes on, please? Because I don't want to see everything."
I tell you what, I am.
But if it's depending on the layout, box off the laundry room so she can go downstairs into the laundry room without seeing the rest of the basement.
Don't sound like the fighting. The rules you put in place, not around the rest of the house, please. Put on some shorts.
Yeah.
Now, I'd be interested to see what the friends think of this.
Yeah.
Because
some lassies going round, and the two lassies sat there in the birthday suits playing video games.
I'm just having a little play. But no, I know.
It's a bit uncomfortable with the controllers on the laps.
But I know, like, from a female growing up with my friends, we were quite confident enough to. Granted, I don't think we ever walked around a lot without our knickers, although I did have a friend who used to, if she was getting changed, just quite happily walk fully naked around. But yeah, I mean, females tend to be quite comfortable with walking around with just knickers on around each other, yeah, it's great they've got that self-confidence, and they are sure of themselves, because it's quite rare nowadays. There's a lot of issues around body image, and I wouldn't want to discourage that confidence, and maybe telling them to cover themselves up it might knock that.
Yeah, but I've got to definitely have a word with boys. Yeah. Boys, Mum's a bit uncomfortable when she has to come downstairs to do the laundry with both of you being in the nude. Is there anything we can do to kind of ease that for her? Do you reckon? Ask her to just shout down before she comes down so you can pop some clothes on, maybe? Or separate wall off the laundry room so she can't see what you're doing down here?
Yep. So there we go. We'll give you some ideas. But no, you're not the arsehole. And I'm trying to do something and my computer is not doing it. There we go. It's doing it now. Oh, well, we're finishing off now, Hat, so you can have a snooze. You can have a nap. But yeah, that's it for this week's. Trust me, I'm a goth. If you do have stories, again, links are all in the description of where you can send us ideas. And that's it. Goodbye. Say goodbye, Hat.
Bye-bye, Hat.